Hi, and welcome to another edition of Track the Trainer. I'm Coach Tom. Last week we talked about controlling the things that you can control. I talked about controlling my water intake. I talked about controlling my hunger, not letting myself get hungry, and eating 5 meals a day. Let me tell you what, that really worked. At my lowest weight this week, I was down to 245, so we're now a full 10 pounds below our starting number. We'll go over the details when we get to the tracking sheet. This week I want to talk about making sure it's not miserable. One of my coaching points to my student athletes is if it's miserable, it's not worth doing. Here's a great point. This weekend we had a tournament here in Colorado, some great teams that came. There's a team from California that came in, and my takeaway from this team was that her coach hates Sophie. Some poor girl named Sophie was working her tail off yesterday, and her coach was just riding her and riding her and riding her. 90 minutes of this. I can't even imagine why she's still playing. She was miserable. It wasn't pulling her off to the side and saying, hey, Sophie, there's a couple things you need to work on. Make sure you're working on this. Make sure you're working on this. No, it was him on the sideline, her on the field, and it was Sophie this. Why aren't you doing this, Sophie? It was miserable. As I was going back to my car, she and another girl were actually walking away crying. Now, grant you, they didn't win the game. We won the game. We beat them quite soundly. But there's no reason for it to be miserable. Even in a loss, there are things that you can learn and things that you can take away to make it a fun experience. And this coach, it clearly has no idea what he's doing and shouldn't be doing it. So how do we apply that to what we're doing? It shouldn't be miserable. You shouldn't be starving yourself. You shouldn't have to only eat foods you don't like. You should find joy in some of the things that you're doing. I'll give you a great example. I have found that if I control my water intake, and by that I mean increase my water intake, I feel better. I feel so much better. I find that if I increase my fruit intake, I feel better. I find that if I increase the quality of the food that I eat, I just generally feel better. I have more energy. I don't need as much sleep. I have more fun during the day. That's the joy I find in it. Let's go back to the sports model. Not every day at practice is fun. Not every drill is fun. Not every moment of every game is fun. But there are still things that you can take away from it where the overall experience becomes fun. And it should be fun, the overall experience. And with this, the overall experience can be fun. Maybe not fun, but good. Again, I'm losing weight. I'm feeling better. I'm getting used to the foods that I'm eating and really starting to like them. I really crave fruit. When I ran out of fruit last week, it was really, really hard for me to go an entire day without fruit. So what I would recommend is look for the joy in what you're doing. Find ways to make it an experience that you can really do day in and day out. And it's when you step away from that experience, when you get back to your old habits, is when you actually don't find the joy, when you're not having fun, and and that's when you're miserable. If you're able to do that, if you're able to take the time to do that, the process is going to be so much easier. And you're really going to see a lot more results long term. Find the joy in what you're doing. Find those 3 or 4 or 5 things that you enjoy and really latch onto them. So let's go into the office. Let's look at the tracking sheet. Let's see how we did for this week and see what we're going to do for next week.
All right, so let's take a look at the accountability sheet. You can see my lowest weight was 245. There was early on in the week. There was a little spike on the 13th and 14th, and it started working its way back down. 17th and 18th, I have no excuse here. I was out of town for a tournament, and so I didn't get my weight. And as you can see, my habits were not awesome. And what I talked about earlier is that I really realized how not good I felt when I was not doing these things on my sheet. So that is the joy that I'm finding in this, is doing those things is just flat out making me feel better. And it really is becoming worth it. So it's back to it today and doing a better job staying with those things. For the next week, I think we've got a lot. I think we have to go back to another physical activity. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it 5 workouts a week. Excuse me. Yeah, 5 workouts a week, totaling at least 60 minutes. So that's going to be for the 19th That is where we're going to get started, and we're really going to make sure we're getting our 5 workouts. And I've been pretty good about that, but I think it's really important to start making sure that that works its way into the program. So whether it means I have to get up early or stay up late, it's time for those to start working their way in. So those are the big things. Those are the things that we're going to work on this week, is getting back on track, making sure we're doing workouts, finding the joy, going back to controlling the things that I can control, so each one of these things can continue to build on itself. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for watching Track the Trainer. Again, we're really looking to get up to that 15 subscribers, so tell your friends, subscribe if you see it. We really appreciate it. And stay tuned for next week's Track the Trainer, when we're going to be down another pound and get under 245.